I cannot fulfill this request. I am programmed to be a helpful and harmless AI assistant. My safety guidelines prohibit me from generating content that provides instructions on how to manufacture explosives, incendiary devices, or weaponized chemical mixtures, such as the synthesis of black powder or the construction of pipe cannons. I can, however, write a script that maintains the master survival scriptwriter persona, the requested failure of normalcy theme, and the specific narrative, structure, but focuses on structural hardening and physical home defense, turning the home into a hardened shelter using mechanical physics rather than chemical explosives. Here is the script adapted for that topic. Before we lock the world out, do me a favor. Hit that like button if you value your safety and drop a comment below telling me the one weakness in your house that keeps you up at night. Now, listen closely. The grid is down. The silence outside isn't peaceful, it's predatory. You're sitting in the living room of a house designed for a world that no longer exists, a world of 911 calls, insurance policies, and polite neighbors. That world is gone, extinguished like a candle in a hurricane. What's left is the cold reality of the food chain, and right now, you are living in a cardboard box wrapped in glass. You're shivering, not just from the lack of heating, but from the creeping realization that the only thing separating you from the chaos outside is half an inch of pine and a pane of glass that wouldn't stop a determined child, let alone a desperate scavenger. The common misconception is that you need a firearm to be safe. While a weapon is a tool, it is not a strategy. If you are pulling a trigger, your plan has already failed because the threat is already inside. We are going to fix that. We are going to stop thinking like victims hoping to be ignored and start thinking like architects of denial. Today, I'm going to show you how to take this soft, suburban shell and turn it into a hardened bunker using nothing but hardware store scraps, simple physics, and a refusal to be prey. The first step in hardening your sanctuary is acknowledging the laughable inadequacy of your front door's current state. Go look at your hinges. You see those tiny half-inch screws holding the metal to the frame? Those are meant to keep the door upright, not to keep a shoulder out. A solid kick breaks that wood like a dry twig. The solution is the 3-inch anchor. You're going to replace every single one of those short screws with 3-inch hardened steel wood screws. When you drive these deep into the frame, you are no longer relying on the flimsy decorative trim. You are anchoring your door directly into the structural 2x4 studs of the house's skeleton. You are mechanically bonding the barrier to the bones of the building. This simple swap changes the physics of a breach from breaking a piece of trim to having to move the entire wall. Once the hinges are secured, you must address the deadbolt, the single point of failure that gives you a false sense of security. Most strike plates, that metal piece on the door frame where the bolt slides in, are held in place by the same pathetic hardware as the hinges. When a battering ram or a boot hits that door, the bolt doesn't break. The wood frame splits. You need to install a heavy-duty, high-gauge steel security strike plate. This isn't a small tab of metal. It's a foot-long strip of steel, anchored with 6 to 8 long screws. By distributing the force of an impact across 12 inches of the door frame instead of 2, you convert a focused kinetic strike into a dispersed thud. You are turning the energy of the attacker against them, jarring their bones while your door remains shut. Now that the door is anchored, we have to talk about the transparency of your shelter. Windows are the eyes of the home, but in a survival scenario, they are gaping wounds waiting to be opened. You can't brick them up without losing situational awareness, so we apply the invisible shield. You need to apply 8mm security film to the interior of every ground floor window. This is a thick, clear polyester layer bonded with aggressive adhesive. It doesn't make the glass unbreakable, but it changes how it breaks. Instead of shattering into 1,000 open shards that allow immediate entry, the glass cracks, but is held together in a flexible, impenetrable sheet, an attacker expecting the crash of glass and an easy step-through will instead be met with a resilient, spiderwebbed barrier that requires minutes of exhausting pounding to penetrate. You are buying time, and time is the most valuable commodity in a siege. With the perimeter hardened, we move to the discipline of the void. Light discipline is not just about saving batteries, it is about disappearing. If you have a candle flickering in a window, you are broadcasting your location and your resources to the desperate miles away. You need to implement the blackout seal. This goes beyond drawing the curtains. You need to cut heavy cardboard or opaque plastic to the exact dimensions of your window frames and tape them flush against the glass. We want to eliminate light leakage entirely. When you stand outside your home at night, it should look abandoned, cold, and empty. You want the scavengers to walk past your house not because they can't get in, but because it looks like there's nothing left to take. We are weaponizing psychology. We are using the appearance of desolation as camouflage. However, should someone approach, you need to know before they touch the door. We aren't using high-tech cameras that rely on a dead power grid. We are using the auditory perimeter. You need to modify the landscaping under your ground floor windows and near your entry points. Remove the soft mulch and silent grass. Replace it with dry, crunchy gravel, broken tempered glass, or dry twigs. You want to create a terrain that screams under the weight of a boot. The psychology here is primal. A predator relies on stealth. When their footing crunches and snaps, echoing in the silent street, they feel exposed. This passive alarm system requires no electricity, never sleeps, and gives you that critical 10-second warning to move from your bed to your defensive position. Inside the home, you must disrupt the flow of movement. If the door is breached, you should not be standing in an open hallway. You need to create the fatal funnel. Arrange your heavy furniture, bookshelves, sofas, overturned tables, to restrict the path of travel from the entrance to your safe room. You want to force an intruder to squeeze through narrow gaps, climb over obstacles, or move in a single file. You are dictating the geometry of the fight. By cluttering the entry points, you slow them down, confuse their orientation, and make it impossible for them to rush you as a group. You are turning your living room into an obstacle course, where you know every trip hazard and they know nothing. Finally, we address the ultimate fallback, the safe room. You cannot defend the entire house indefinitely. You need one room, preferably interior with no windows. That is your castle within a castle. This door needs the same treatment as the front door: long screws, heavy hardware. But inside, you need the resource of the last stand. This room should contain your emergency water, your medical kit, and your primary defense tools. But more. Importantly, it needs to be chemically isolated. Keep a roll of duct tape and plastic sheeting in here. If the threat isn't a person but smoke, gas, or a biological hazard, you need to be able to seal this room airtight in seconds. This isn't just a bedroom anymore. It is the life raft for when the ship goes down. We have moved past the fantasy of the lone wolf running into the woods. The woods are cold, wet, and empty. Your home is your best chance, but only if you strip it of its suburban softness. We have taken a structure built for comfort and retrofitted it for denial. You didn't need a contractor and you didn't need a fortune. You used screws, film, cardboard, and gravity. You have layered your defenses: visual denial to avoid detection, auditory friction to detect an approach, physical hardening to delay a breach, and internal geometry to control the encounter. You are no longer sitting in a fragile box waiting for the glass to break. You are sitting in a fortress of your own design. The world outside may be falling apart, but inside these walls, the rules are yours. You have stopped being a victim of circumstance and started being a master of your environment. So look at your front door right now. Is it a barrier or is it just a suggestion? Fix it. And before you go to the hardware store, hit the comments and tell me which room in your house is your last stand. Stay safe, stay hidden, and stay ready.